we tackled this single handle first because engineering wise, this is the hardest. This top mount single handle, single hole is your volume driver, right? This is the one that most people typically are going to look to put in their homes, right? It's also the most difficult from an engineering perspective. And if you can imagine, there's you've got a mix of materials in here. You're running water through small spaces, and like if you think about a spout, water likes to go one direction and it doesn't like to turn 90 degrees really fast.
Right.
And so controlling that flow, my senior designer at the time, who was really working on this, he spent months he went to the hardware store and just bought a whole bunch of just window screen. And he'd sit there and he'd cut out various screen mesh and he'd tape them together and we'd glue them in the orifice, and we'd run water through these prototype after prototype after prototype, all the different, PSI and gallons per minute, and seeing, trying to dial in what we wanted this water flow to look like, how we wanted it to feel when it's hitting your hands, how we wanted it to sound when it's filling a basin. And we got to a point where, hey, we got it exactly how we really love it and want it. That's just us messing around in the model shop doing it ourselves. But that's the target then we give our engineering team. And those guys are the real geniuses because they got to figure out how to make this stuff work, right? We're just crazy designers with screen mesh and scissors gluing stuff into places. And they're coming to us and they're like, always slapping their forehead like, oh my God, what are you bringing to us? And I got to make it manufacturable and repeatable. And so we joke, we love to see a bead of sweat on our engineers' upper lips. And, for products like this, where you're introducing different materials, we love to see almost sheer panic in our quality department, so.
Right.
Yeah. And
you need a little bit of friction.
Well, you do. But you guys, I feel like you took a lot of risk with this collection because of the use of, the different kind of materials on the faucets. The way, like you said, the water flows out of the faucet is not the typical way. And even the shower head that you designed that, includes the lights as part of the fittings, I think it's like you're definitely like rocking the boat of the plumbing fitting market, it seems to me.
Oh yeah, there's so many things in this collection that, like, it in some instances though it wasn't as crazy as it might have been in years past, right? So we've come off of Brizo introduced a few years ago a complete. You talk about your poured concrete. We have a complete concrete faucet in the Vetus collection. And it's not concrete around a structure. The structure is the concrete and the water is isolated through that structure. So we the brand and the company, to the credit of our top decision makers, right? I can present the crazy stuff, but they can always say no, and so, but to their credit, we've been able to do some things, and we tell them this is not going to be, in like the concrete faucet instance, we know it's not going to be a high volume thing, but what a great cover page, what a great story, what a great exploration. And as a company, we're willing to push those boundaries now within the Brizo brand. And, with the Frank Lloyd Wright collection, it's interesting, the water does tumble off to the side. And I think that's the whole premise of, right? That's kind of where we talk about the integrity component of principle, right? We wanted the water to be the main design element of this entire suite. And so, the faucet, when it's sitting there in its static form, it's really this beautiful, simple, functional sculpture, right? I love what Wright had that great saying, is something to the effect of, right, you should always strive for the elimination of the insignificant, and what remains is significant. And we went through a lot of refinement process to kind of, to get to that point where the forms, in the end, they're beautiful. Like I said, it's almost like this piece of functional sculpture just sitting there, but you kind of realize really quickly that all that purposeful design, once you interact with the faucet, once the water turns on, you realize that that's the missing component, that the water brings everything else on center, that the water completes that total form. And that's where, you really, hopefully you understand, the beauty of that collection. And the shower head, I think epitomizes probably the utmost, right? You kick off a project like this, and it may not be for everybody, but we're trying to design this for that person, for that group who wants to have a closer relationship with nature, right? They want to have a little bit of that outside in, right? You get the waterfall effect, that surprise and delight waterfall effect coming off tumbling out of the side of the lavatory faucets themselves. But the shower, then now you have this, and it's funny because it looks like a Frank Lloyd Wright residence. It looks like it should be somewhere, and the models that you probably saw, or you probably saw it in the videos. I remember I hadn't seen any models. I knew they were doing models. And the first time I walked in, we were at Taliesin and walked into the Frank Lloyd Wright studio, and Stuart was off in the background. I saw the model there, and I thought, and I walked to Stuart, and he was sitting there, and I go, "Hey, which residence is that? I don't really recognize it." He goes, "Judd, that's your shower head." And I look again, and I walked up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's our shower head. I thought it was the residence." Because funny. I didn't realize at the time they were actually doing
like landscape models,
models with the faucets.
Yeah,
I thought they were just doing these great models. I didn't see all of them at the time. I just saw that one, and I was like, boy, it does. It looks just you don't get more cool. Prairie style than that shower head. And what we really wanted to hit that shower head was, not only it's a whole new, and I can't remember the name of it. We gave it now, but the shower droplets. It's a new technology that the engineers just worked on. But it's one of the things, right? It hits you shoulder to shoulder as you're standing under it. And one of the things that we really wanted to incorporate that was Wright was pretty renowned in his lighting for indirect lighting and then bouncing light off of surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so that shower head, we ended up being able to embed, and again, our engineers are amazing. We embedded several hydro generators in there, so its water is powering, and then there's a light, around the top that's bouncing off of that wood plane, to give you this really, calming ambient feel when you're in the shower. With put the lights down low, just turn your shower on, and it's just kind of puts the idea is just to kind of take you to a different place, right? Just let you meditate the day away, and so to me, that shower head really epitomizes that whole idea of trying to design for those who really want to have a close relationship with nature. From an engineering standpoint, obviously, it was just trying to figure out how to get the water to look like we wanted it to look and feel like we wanted it to feel. And like I said, our engineering team did a fantastic job, because like I said, even us just trial and error, we probably went, I bet you Tony went through 50 to 60 different just prototypes of trying to run water up differently, trying to baffle it differently, trying to get controls, channeling it. I mean, when you're talking about small spaces and things like that, little things make a big difference in how water behaves. And so, you can't run a computer simulation. You just have to make prototypes and literally just manually put in modeling clay and make changes. And that's what he did. He'd make dummy models, and we put in modeling clay and create different channels, and you just play with it and test it. If it doesn't work, you make tweaks and changes, and you get to a point where you can hand something off. We like to think it can be done before we hand it off to our engineering group, because we don't want to waste their time.
Sure.